Welcome, Teen Women of Valor, to week 12 on forgiveness. Get your book out, and we're going to talk about some things in your book and just really talk about forgiveness for the next 3 weeks. We're going to be talking about forgiveness. We're going to figure out what really does it mean to forgive someone? What does it mean when we are walking in unforgiveness, and to be able to recognize that? So what a freeing life it is if we understand forgiveness, choose not to walk in unforgiveness. It will make us such a difference in our lives. So I want to encourage you to really delve into the next 3 weeks and ask God to really show you areas that maybe you struggle with forgiveness a little bit, and be able to recognize what those are in your life. So we're going to look at the book a little bit this week, and we're going to look at what forgiveness is this first week. And I really want to encourage you to think about for yourself, when I say forgiveness, what does that really mean to you? What does forgiveness mean? What does it mean to forgive someone? I think we have to start in our own minds thinking, what is that for me? Do I understand it? And then wherever we are, we can move forward in understanding it more clearly. The other thing is, can you think of examples of unforgiveness? Are there times in your life or situations that you can think of that you really did have unforgiveness in your life? So thinking about those will help you move forward. Now, maybe you really can't think of an unforgiveness issue in your life. Maybe you think, I don't really struggle with forgiveness, but God talked about it so much in His Word that I would bet that there are some things in your life that you have not walked fully in forgiveness, and God is willing to show that to you. Don't you love it that we serve a God that says, I want you to be the best you can be, so I'm going to point out things to you that don't line up with my word, and that's what He wants to do for us. So as you look in lesson 12 and you answer those 2 questions for yourself, I want you to look at the page 48 where it says forgiveness is. And this is a list of things of what forgiveness is. The first one is, it's something we do for ourselves. It's not about the person that we're forgiving. That's a big concept. Think about that. It's not, I don't choose to forgive someone because they deserve it or because they said they are sorry, but I choose to forgive someone because in my heart, I want to make myself pure and clean and not carry unforgiveness. So forgiveness is for us and not for the person that we're forgiving. So ponder that this week. The second one is that no matter where the person is, whether he's here or he or she is here with you, they're part of your life, or they're not, then you still can forgive someone. It could even be someone who's passed away, that you are sorry that they passed away and you didn't get a chance to tell them that you're sorry. And so forgiveness is something that's about us. Again, forgiveness means I forgive them in my heart. I don't have to be able to make an apology to them. All right. The third one is not allowing the person's actions towards us to dictate our lives. When we have unforgiveness, or when we have someone in our life that we are angry at and we've chosen not to forgive, no matter what they do, it affects us personally. You know, sometimes that's a parent. That could be a parent that really has done the wrong thing, and you are very angry at them. That they have chosen a path in life that has directly affected you, and you are angry at them. They've made bad choices, and you are angry with them. Really, you have unforgiveness in your heart towards them. You want to be really careful about that, because again, it says that we don't allow their actions to dictate us. So if we carry unforgiveness towards someone, say it's a parent, and we feel unforgiveness towards them, everything that they do makes us mad. We react to them. And so when we have unforgiveness, we do that. But when we forgive someone, what they do doesn't dictate what we do. We don't have that "I'll show them" kind of attitude. But forgiveness is saying what they do, they do. What I choose to do is what I want to do, which is being right before God. You know, the other thing is, it says in forgiveness, we give up the right to make them suffer for what they did. That kind of goes back to that same scenario. When somebody does something wrong, if we take it upon ourselves to make them suffer for what they've done, we give them the cold shoulder, or we retaliate by doing something mean back to them, we have not forgiven them. And you know, that's hard. It's hard not to do that, because when someone does something to us, our natural reaction, if they've made us feel bad, if they'd hurt us, we want to hurt them back. That girls, is unforgiveness. That means you truly have not forgiven that person. The other one is that we forgive people on both daily hurts and people who have hurt us, maybe in our past, or continue to hurt us. Forgiveness means even if it's just little offenses, we forgive those. If it's deep hurts, we forgive those. Again, it's not saying we're not saying what they did was right, but in our hearts, we're not harboring anger and unforgiveness. It says, deciding in our hearts that we will allow God to do his parts in our hearts and trusting him to work out the details in the other person's heart. We don't have control over someone else, what they do, whether or not they're sorry, what their actions are. We don't have control over that. We only have control over allowing God to work in our lives. And so forgiveness really is trusting God by faith, saying, I'm going to forgive them. I'm not going to harbor anger or unforgiveness. And then God, you have to work on them. That's not my job to work on them. And so that's true forgiveness when we can do that. And the other thing is, I just want to remind you why we've put it in the curriculum and why it's so important is God tells us to forgive. This isn't a choice. This is something that God tells us to do. If we want to be in right relationship with God, we must choose to forgive. It isn't up to us whether people deserve it, whether they continue to do it. We still have to choose to forgive. That's how God forgave us, and that's what he's asking us to do as well. And because he's asking us to do that, he gives us the ability to forgive. Now, in your homework this week, you're going to do something that might be a little bit difficult, so I want to make sure that you understand what you're doing. You're going to practice forgiving someone in your life. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to think of someone in your life that maybe has offended you or you're having trouble forgiving. And once you think of that person, I want you to get them in your mind, and I want you to shift your thinking into how God sees them, all right? So that would be like taking yourself and saying, I know that I sometimes do the wrong thing. Sometimes I'm offend God. Sometimes I'm offensive, and God still chooses to forgive me. God still loves me. God still is patient with me. So you're going to put yourself in the place of the way God forgives. And you're going to put that other person in the place of you. So let me give you an example. I had a friend and I was super mad at her. She was just rude and mean, and I just got tired of it. And what I found myself doing was just avoiding her. I didn't call her. I didn't want to be with her. I just was aggravated at her. And I watched the way she'd react to people and the things she'd do, and it just made me mad. And so I was walking one day and God said, you have to forgive her. And I was like, I don't want to forgive her. She just makes me mad, and she continues to do the wrong thing. And God said, well, I want you to think about what I've done for you. You also continue to do the wrong thing. You continue to offend me. You continue to do things against my word, but I still forgive you. I still love you. I still have compassion on you. And I give you the ability to do that for others. So I want you to look at that person and the things that they're doing, that friend of yours. I want you to look at her the way I look at you. And that was such a revelation to me, because what I found was, because God has shown me forgiveness, then he gives me the ability to show others forgiveness. And I really could look at that other person with compassion. I could forgive her. And that's what you're going to do in your lesson as well. You're going to look at someone that you're struggling with forgiving, and you're going to ask God to help you look at them the way he looks at you, to really understand the forgiveness that God has given you, so then you can easily give it to someone else. The other thing that you're going to do is you're going to read a story that I've written for you, and it's called The Tale of the Unforgiveness Jail Cell. And this story was written specifically as I was working with people that were really struggling forgiving themselves. They had done things that were wrong. They had really chosen to do something wrong even when they knew it was wrong. And they were living with a lot of guilt and shame. And they had trouble believing that God could forgive them. They had trouble believing that they could forgive themselves. And so as you read this story, I want you to begin to process in your mind, how does this story affect me? Where do I see myself in this story? And then allow God to do a work in your life. This session of Teen Women of Valor is going to be amazing for you if you choose to step into a real understanding of forgiveness and allow God to work in your lives. So I'm praying over you as you talk together, as you read the lesson, as you read the scriptures that God gives on forgiveness in the Word. It's going to make a huge difference in your life. So girls, I'm excited for what God has in store for you. It's going to be life-changing. But have a great week.